In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the all-new 27-inch ROG Swift OLED 4K gaming monitor. I've had this in my possession for about 2 weeks, and if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you may have seen this in a couple of the videos that I recently posted. But basically what we've got here is a 26.5-inch OLED panel, 4K up to 240 Hertz. This thing has been outstanding. I mean, it looks absolutely amazing. And we've got all of the connectivity we need for basically any device. This does support USB Type-C video in and 90-watt PD charging out. So if you wanted to connect this to a handheld, you definitely could. And I've been using it just like that, along with a lot of my other devices. But just to give you an idea, this is using 4th Gen QD OLED technology, 166 pixels per inch for super sharp imagery and text, 27-inch, really 26.5 at 4K, 240 Hertz. It does support DisplayPort 2.1a, so up to 80 gigabytes per second for the cleanest image you can expect over DisplayPort. Built-in custom heatsink. It's got a built-in Neo proximity sensor, so once you look away from this device, it will dim on you. You can disable this if you want to, but it's going to save the life of that OLED panel. 99% DCI-P3, 0.03 millisecond response time. It supports Dolby Vision, uniform brightness, it's got a 3-year warranty, and it also supports ASUS's Display Widget Center. So instead of using the built-in OSD, we can control every aspect of this monitor directly from our desktop. And like I mentioned, this does support display over USB Type-C. As far as I can tell, we can do up to 4K 120 Hz, which is plenty for me, and it does 90-watt PD charging out. Another thing they have here that actually comes in really handy for me is aspect ratio control built into the monitor. Sometimes I do need to run something at a 16:10 aspect instead of a 16:9, and I can do it on this monitor even though it's a 16:9 panel. Some RGB around back, and this can be controlled through Armoury Crate. It supports Aura Sync, so you can sync it up with everything. Personally, love the overall look of this, and most of the time I'm not looking at the back of the monitor, but I do think it looks really good like this. Unfortunately, the lights on the stand itself are red, and they're just going to stay red. So we've got that Swift logo and the ROG projection down here. This actually comes with a few different caps, so you can customize a projection if you wanted to. All the I/O around back is labeled for easy access. We've got our control nub and 2 physical buttons. And when it comes to I/O, we've actually got 3 USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, USB Type-B, 2 full-size HDMI 2.1 ports. We've also got that DisplayPort 2.1a and a 3.5mm audio jack. Full adjustability, we can lower it down, raise it up. It's got swivel, tilt, and we can turn this 90 degrees. So if you wanted to use this in a vertical setup, you definitely could. The monitor also supports KVM over USB Type-B and USB Type-C. We've got those 3 USB ports on here, so what I usually do is just plug in a mouse and keyboard. That way when I move over to another device, like let's say my handheld or phone connected over USB Type-C, I've still got access to those USB ports. And again, I mean, I can't get over how good this actually looks. It's going to be really hard to come across in a YouTube video after filming the screen itself and then uploading it with their compression, but this is one of the best panels that I've seen so far. Here's Cyberpunk 2077, 4K Ray Tracing Overdrive. I am using DLSS set at quality, and of course, to get that frame rate up to where it is, I am using some frame generation here. And it looks incredible on this OLED panel. This actually makes me want to install some more mods here to get those ultra realistic graphics. I think it would look absolutely amazing on this thing. To access the OSD, we do have the control nub, at least that's what I call it, around back here, plus those 2 physical buttons. But this supports ASUS's Display Widget, so we don't even need to do this to control every aspect of this monitor. All we need to do is launch the Display Widget, and we can control everything from here. As you can see, there's a bunch of pre-made profiles that actually look pretty decent, but you can go through and just totally customize this to your liking. That's exactly what I've done. I do love a little more saturation. I had to turn the brightness on this way down for my camera. Kind of blows everything out because this thing does get really bright. It also has a Game Plus section, and from here we've got an on-screen crosshair, a few different styles to choose from, timer, stopwatch, on-screen FPS counter, and we can activate it all from the Display Widget. OLED care section does come in really handy for pixel cleaning. It's got edge detection, You can also set up the proximity sensor. It's got automatic dimming, logo detection, so you don't have to worry about burn-in, a full suite to take care of the OLED itself, and we've got keyboard hotkeys. So no matter what keyboard you have plugged in, you can set up hotkeys here to adjust the brightness, OLED care, saturation. I personally love the fact that with the display widget installed, we don't have to worry about messing around with those buttons around back on the device to adjust everything. 240 Hz refresh rate. I've got Forza Horizon 5 running here at ultra settings, and yeah, I mean, it is super smooth. Ultra low motion blur here with this OLED panel, given that it's their 4th generation QD OLED technology. But one of my favorite things about this monitor is the fact that we've got USB Type-C video in. And from what I've tested, again, 4K 120 Hz over USB Type-C. Got the ROG Ally X here, and since the monitor supports KVM and I've got my mouse and keyboard dongle plugged into one of the USB ports on the monitor, we can use it here with whatever we've got plugged in over USB Type-C. And obviously it doesn't have to be the ROG Ally or the Ally X here. You could use the Steam Deck. Steam Deck charges at a maximum of 45 watts. With the ROG Ally X, it does charge it up to 100 watts, but one thing I wanted to show you here was basically docked mode or desktop mode. From here, we can see that, yeah, we are getting sufficient power to go all the way up with it. And I just wanted to show you a little bit of 4K HDR video running. It looks so good, and this is running on the ROG Ally X. We've got plenty of power to do 4K HDR 60 FPS. Aside from my desktop or a handheld gaming PC, another mobile device I use quite frequently is my phone. This is the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, and this supports what's known as Samsung DeX. If you've got an S9 all the way up to the S25, you've got something very similar here, and all we need to do is plug it in. I've got my phone set up to automatically go into DeX mode once we plug it in over HDMI. And you can see it just pops right up. And again, since it supports KVM, we've got access to those 3 USB ports around back. I don't need an extra hub or anything like that. It's basically just single cable operation mode with this monitor. And with a few side-loaded applications on the S25 Ultra, you can go up to 4K 120 over USB Type-C to a monitor like this. Out of the box, I believe it'll only go up to 1440. There is an application on the Samsung Galaxy Store that will allow you to go up in that resolution and frame rate. But overall, the new ROG Swift OLED PG27UCDM has been an outstanding OLED monitor. I do like the fact that we've got a 27-inch offering now, 4K, 240 Hz, with that 0.03 millisecond response time. In the past, I believe the only one they offered was a 32-inch with kind of the same specs here. But for my setup, I personally prefer a 27-inch display, so I'm really glad they brought this to the market. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. I really appreciate you watching. If you're interested in learning about the ROG Swift 27-inch 4K 240Hz OLED display, I'll leave links in the description. You can head over to their official website also, but I believe this is over on Newegg and Amazon. Either way, I'll find some links and put them down below. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments. And like always, thanks for watching.